Hi, I'm Dominique Blocker with City TV. Welcome to the 150th episode of Inside Santa Barbara. Since our first episode in 1997, hosted by King Harris, we've brought you up to date on the city's most significant issues, projects, and events. Looking back at that first episode, we are reminded of the threat of wildland fires. Even 13 years ago, City TV was focused on wildfire preparation, featuring a story on the threats of living in the South Coast and how landscaping can play an important role in protecting homes. This year, with a rainy winter behind us, wildfires may be far from people's minds. But as we learn in this next piece, the time to prepare is now. Although it may not be music to your ears, here in Santa Barbara, this is a welcome sound. Welcome because it means that our community is getting ready for wildfire season. And as we've been reminded in recent years, it's too late to prepare once the fire starts. Santa Barbara's history of wildland fires shows that they are always a threat. But after 4 major wildland fires in the last 3 years, there is a heightened awareness of our risk. The Santa Barbara City Fire Department is working to make sure that not only are their firefighters prepared, but that the community is ready if a wildfire threatens us again this year.
It's just critical that all the fire departments and all the fire departments do prepare for the wildfire season.
To do this, the city's fire department holds trainings on a variety of skills that firefighters may need during a wildland fire.
We get all of our firefighters through this training. This year we're working with County Fire and their helicopter and learn a little bit about some of the safety aspects of working around helicopters, because we do that on fires. Even though we don't have a helicopter here in the city, we do work with helicopters on wildland fires.
The training included several exercises to prepare firefighters for situations that may arise during a fire. Involving both ground and helicopter operations, it was designed to improve the coordination of these resources during the critical early stages of a wildland fire.
We started our drill over at Elings Park, landed the helicopter there, practiced doing some water filling of the helicopter. We had a fire scenario. The guys pulled hose, did a progressive hose lay up the flank of the fire, and called in for air support. And air support, County Fire Helicopter 308, flew from Elings Park over here and did several water drops to support our operations.
Although only training exercises, city firefighters recognize their importance and the fact that ultimately they are held to ensure their safety.
It's necessary for them to be tuned up, have their skills sharp, and helps them be safe and helps them do a good job on the fire line. Fighting wildland fires is one of the most dangerous things that we do. We do it in the spring because all winter long there's very few wildfires, so just to tune up all our skills and get us ready for the upcoming season.
You make the garlic bread look real good.
Highlighting the collaborative effort required to fight wildland fires, the Wildfire Season Kickoff Barbecue was held this spring. Firefighters from multiple local agencies gathered at Schofield Park, a spot at the meeting point of 2 recent front country fires, to highlight their mutual aid and cooperation.
Obviously, the scope and scale of these fires is such that not any single agency can handle it on their own. That's why it's for that reason the interagency cooperation that we have here in this area is so vital and so important. As fortunate as we are to have such excellent relationships with our surrounding fire agencies, we also realize that we need the help of so many others that play a key role in the mitigation of these fires.
But it's not only firefighters who need to prepare for wildfires. The community needs to get ready as well. To do this, the city's fire department is participating in a statewide effort to make sure that residents are ready before a wildfire comes, but if needed, they can evacuate quickly and safely.
This is not a new message from the fire service. We've always told the public that they need to be prepared in the event of a wildfire. What we're doing now is we've kind of repackaged that message, and we're asking the public to take more personal responsibility in that area. Early in 2009, all the Southern California fire chiefs got together and we recognized that we really need to emphasize with the public this need to be prepared. As a result of that, this Ready, Set, Go campaign was launched. Each agency has kind of taken this and then molded it a little bit so it's specific to the area, and that's what we've done here for Santa Barbara City.
Broken down into 3 steps, the program is meant to serve residents as a guide in their preparation.
It actually gives you specifics to take a look at in development of your plan. And we actually have a form in there that lists all of the different things that you should be looking at for your plan.
You guys can pop on out of your shelter.
Because just as the firefighters must refresh their training each year, residents must prepare and practice in case of a wildland fire.
If you don't look at ahead of time what you would do in an emergency, then you panic. You don't have a plan of what you're going to do, and you jeopardize yourself and your family because of that.
One critical step in making sure that doesn't happen to you is to prepare the space around your home. The city and residents in high fire risk areas recognized this and decided to be proactive.
Back in 2006, the city had adopted what is now known as the Wildland Fire Suppression Benefit Assessment District. And what that district does is it provides specific services to homeowners in the foothill and extreme foothill high fire hazard areas to help reduce those risks. It's basically one of the ready parts of the Ready, Set, Go. It's giving homeowners the tools to be able to be proactive, to fight wildland fire, to be ready before it gets here.
With over 3,000 homes in the district, funds generated through assessments to these properties are applied to an array of services for the homeowners. The city's fire department offers everything from discussing landscaping and building construction to one-on-one on-site defensible space tours at properties in the district.
One of the other services that we offer on an annual basis for every homeowner in the district is chipping. So if they need to remove limbs or they cut brush, they take out dead material, oftentimes they can do that, but they don't have the means to dispose of that material. So then it just ends up on their property. So as a way to help get rid of that dry, flammable vegetation and any vegetation that they had cut, we offer chipping services.
And though the services are for the safety of the homeowners, they also make the area safer for firefighters as well.
One of the other aspects of the Benefit Assessment District is road clearance. As you know, driving up here, a lot of the roads up here are really narrow, really tight. They're hard for even 2 small vehicles to get up and down. So what we do is every year we accomplish about 14 miles of road clearance. We go through and within 10 feet from the drivable roadway, we take out any flammable vegetation, we remove fire ladders. We also clear canopies so that not only homeowners can leave in the times of evacuation, but it allows engine companies an easier access into these neighborhoods so they can actually be proactive and defend the structures in this area. It was one of the big problems in fires that we've had in past years, where engines not being able to get up, basically traffic jams happening because the roads weren't wide enough to accommodate all vehicles.
The final element of the Benefit Assessment District services helps to lessen a potential fire's impact not only for residents in the high-risk areas, but ultimately for the entire community.
A lot of times there's large parcels that create sort of a neighborhood or a community area of areas that hadn't been cleared because they were beyond that 100 feet. So we work with those private property owners to go in and do clearance on those larger parcels.
Hearing about defensible space and fire prevention is one thing. Seeing structures that were saved by it is another. St. Mary's Seminary, located in the extreme foothill zone, was one of the first vegetation management projects taken on by the assessment district. Lying directly in the path of both the T and Hesesita fires, the site was a good test for vegetation clearance work. When the T fire hit in November of 2008, the vegetation work had not been completed, and St. Mary's suffered extreme damage, nearly losing the structure.
6 months later, after we had finished that project and the Hesesita fire came, what it did was that Hesesita fire, just as intense, came up on that east side of St. Mary's. It took out a lot of heat. Firefighters were again up there. They said the intensity was a lot less. St. Mary's experienced a fraction of the damage that they did on the east side. The area above St. Mary's is completely moonscaped from that fire, and as it moved down into the project area, what you can see is the intensity of the fire was reduced. There's more canopy cover, there's more natural vegetation still standing, so it did exactly what we're looking at doing.
Taking the time to prepare your home now by making sure that your landscaping is fire resistant, your trees and brush are trimmed and chipped, means that your home is more likely to withstand a wildfire, and it gives firefighters a structure they can defend.
What I stress to homeowners too is when you do your job and do your defensible space and do your clearance, there's a better chance that firefighters are going to pick your property to come in and protect. Firefighters look at their safety when they go into an area, and when they go into a neighborhood, they look and see these homeowners have done their job. There's clearance. When a fire comes into this area, it's not going to be as intense. There's places for them to back in. They look at access issues. They look at water. They look at structure type.
Ultimately, when a fire comes, the task of protecting homes and lives is up to both firefighters and residents. Alone, their preparation only goes so far, but together, the chances for success are exponentially greater.
Which one is that?
What happens in a larger wildland fire is resources get quickly overwhelmed. And they're not going to be at every house to protect every house and to take care of every person who potentially is at that house. And so the message that we're getting across to people is you have to take personal responsibility for yourself. We're going to help the public and help our community as much as possible during a wildland fire, but we don't have enough resources to take care of each person. And it is each person's responsibility as a homeowner in our high fire hazard areas to be prepared and to take that responsibility themselves.
We've really seen just homeowners be very proactive. We see more compliance with defensible space. We see more brush getting put out for us to chip, more thank yous and high fives for doing road clearance, allowing them access into their neighborhoods. So it's been really successful.
The collaborative effort means our city is better prepared for a future wildland fire. And though many people assume with so much land burned by recent wildfires and a rainy winter behind us, there is little to worry about, our location and topography tell us otherwise. In Santa Barbara, there is always a risk of wildfire, and there is no end to our wildfire season.
There's still a lot of areas that could burn. With the grass that we have this year, we're predicting that there'll be more and numerous starts of smaller fires, and it's going to be important that we get to those fires quickly. We still need the public to be really aware and understand that wildfire is a year-round thing here in Santa Barbara, and that they need to be prepared.
For more information on preparing your home and family for a wildfire, visit santabarbaraca.gov/wildland. You'll find a link to the Ready, Set, Go program brochure right on the site. For the past 6 years, the city has been honoring people who have made a difference in our community. Up next, City TV's Nina Sang tells us about the Spirit of Service program and how it helps keep Santa Barbara looking good.
When it comes to bettering our community, every little effort counts, whether it's composting food scraps, cleaning up litter, or removing graffiti. Every day, ordinary citizens like you dedicate countless hours to help keep our city clean. To recognize these efforts and to encourage volunteerism, the city's Environmental Services Looking Good Santa Barbara program created the Spirit of Service Awards.
Basically, it's a city recognition program out of the Looking Good Santa Barbara program. We created it about 6 years ago, and we had some council members saying that, they wanted to recognize people in the community doing volunteer service for all those, people you don't see out there, and other people know about them. And you and I may know about them working in the city, but we wanted to bring them to light and really recognize those people and thank them for all the work that they're putting back into our communities.
The program shows that volunteer efforts, big and small, can make a difference. The city hopes that the recognition program will inspire Santa Barbara businesses and residents to make a difference in their neighborhood as they witness other members of the community do the same.
So it's, some people have a lot of time to give and some people have a little time to give, but every bit it helps in creating the difference that we're making.
Participating in the program also gives neighbors a chance to interact and get to know one another as well as others in the community. Regardless of the time they commit, their time is greatly appreciated.
In the last 5 years, the church groups that we work with have donated, in time we calculated it was over $100,000 that they've donated to us in time and labor. So yes, it's very beneficial to the city, and it's something we want to promote more. We give them free, gloves and things of that nature, but in value for what they're giving us back, it's nothing in comparison.
To show their appreciation, Looking Good Santa Barbara awards business owners and individuals through the annual Spirit of Service program.
It's a community nomination process, and anybody can nominate anybody they'd like according to the categories. And a lot of times our staff will nominate people as well because we're working with people and we put it out to everybody. So it's online, it's really easy, it takes like 5 minutes. So at the beginning of the new year, people should keep an eye out for it in the Independent and on our website at sbrecycles.org.
Awards are given out to businesses and individuals for their efforts in graffiti and litter abatement and recycling. The city gives out an award for Outstanding Neighbor, Business, and Youth, as well as Recycler of the Year, Clean Communities, and Composter of the Year, which is a new category. This year's Composter of the Year in the business category is Lazy Acres.
It's always been a dream of ours to compost all our food scraps. But it's kind of funny because they gave us a tiered schedule that we could go on where we'd save 20%, 30%, 40%, something like that. And we just said, well, we want to go for 100% because that's the way we are. So we just went forward, and so we were successful. It's been great.
Although Lazy Acres has been recycling since 2008, they just started composting this year. 48% of their waste is converted into food scraps, saving them nearly $1,000 a year.
Every little bit helps, and if we can do it with 220 employees, then you can do a lot on your own.
The city also recognizes programs that are put on by youth. This year, Westmont College received an award for their outstanding efforts in graffiti and litter abatement. But Westmont College volunteers are doing more than just cleaning up their neighborhood. They're bringing together East and West Side gang members in the process.
It's really encouraging because I feel like a lot of the times when you want to do things like that, you just are kind of on your own, and if you do it, it's great. But to have the city be really encouraging and are excited about what we were doing and wanting to help, and also there's this ceremony of wanting to honor so many people that are doing great things in our city. I feel like that really helps me want to do more and be invested in this community particularly.
For more information, visit lookinggoodsb.com or call the Looking Good Santa Barbara hotline at 897-2526. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara. No matter where you fish, your favorite spot begins right here on your street. That's because storm drains lead straight to our creeks and ocean. When water washes into storm drains, pollutants like pesticides and fertilizers go along for the ride. Help keep our creeks and beaches clean. Reduce your use of fertilizer and try less toxic garden products. Remember, the ocean begins on your street. Minutes away. Hours of fun. See another world. Stearns Wharf. Your local, affordable source for family fun. Welcome back to Inside Santa Barbara. Downtown businesses may have noticed more people walking down State Street on May 9th, but it wasn't because of Mother's Day. A cruise ship made a stop in Santa Barbara, and Channel 18's Becky Oxborough and Jeffrey Goodman were on board to find out more.
Last month, the city welcomed nearly 3,000 tourists from the Sapphire Princess's visit to Santa Barbara. The ship departed from Los Angeles and made its first stop at the Santa Barbara Harbor, before venturing on up the coast to its ultimate destination of Vancouver, Canada. Other stops along the coast included major cities like San Francisco and Seattle.
So the cruise ships, cruise either down in Mexico or they cruise up in Alaska on the west coast. And we tend to get one or two ships that are transitioning. So they've been cruising in Mexico, and now they're going to take the ship back up to Seattle or Vancouver to do the Alaskan cruises, and we try to convince them to stop here. So I think there are 6 cruise lines, and we're now working with those cruise lines. And we've all been working concertedly to make this particular trip an especially good trip for Princess and their passengers.
Instead of waiting for the phone to ring, now we're calling them and saying, hey, you ought to think of Santa Barbara. And I think that people realize it's a wonderful opportunity, and it puts us ahead of the competition being places like Laguna Beach, where else am I, Monterey Bay and all that. They really do not have the facilities or the access that we do. So, and cruise ships cruise companies can market this to people, because you say Santa Barbara just about anywhere in the world, people go, oh, I know that place.
But how does the city prepare for a visit from such a large vessel? And how does it affect our own harbor?
The planning for a cruise ship starts months, if not almost a year in advance of the cruise ship arrival. A lot of logistical planning and coordination, not only with the cruise ship and their representatives, but then there's the security aspect, which has been a large part of what we've dealt with in the last several years, dealing with the INS, immigration services, and even customs.
Although Sea Landing must set its facilities aside for the day during a visit, they are paid for their services by the cruise ship. The Waterfront Department also receives revenue of $5 per individual, totaling about $15,000.
Vessels such as these were able to transport nearly 3,000 passengers to and from the Sapphire Princess throughout the day. Visitors were able to enjoy major attractions in Santa Barbara, such as the wine tours in Santa Ynez and shopping up and down State Street.
Once the passengers were safely transported to shore, they were provided with brochures, maps, and information about Santa Barbara. Bus tours, trolley tours, and MTD shuttles were available to transport visitors to and from various attractions around the city.
Well, the average person spends $100 to $200 when they stop in Santa Barbara. They just spend the day here. So that's nice, right? They aren't congesting the streets, no vehicles. They're just coming to town. They're visiting the retail stores. The food here is pretty good, so they aren't really going to restaurants to eat, but they'll buy souvenirs, they'll buy clothing, and more important than that, they'll see Santa Barbara, and they'll probably come back again.
I didn't know anything about Santa Barbara before I got here, but it was fun. We went up to the Mission and that, so someplace actually we thought about coming back to later, spend a long weekend or so doing some shopping and that. So it seemed like an enjoyable place.
While passengers were spending their time touring the city, many volunteers and representatives of the city's business community were given the opportunity to go on board the ship for a special VIP tour. A luncheon was held where Councilmember Frank Hotchkiss presented Captain Dino Sagani with a special plaque welcoming the ship and its passengers to our beautiful city. City TV sat down with Captain Sagani to find out more about this floating city at sea.
Well, the Sapphire Princess is a very particular ship because together with her sister, the Diamond Princess, they are the only 2 ships who have been built in Japan. Usually Princess Cruises build all their new ship in Italy, actually, in Fincantieri, which is a yard close to Trieste, actually, where I come from. But the Sapphire and the Diamond have been built in Japan a few years ago, so they have a little bit difference in respect of the other ships. We do have a different set of restaurants where we do actually 2 different types of dining for the passengers. They can choose individual in some of small restaurants that we have, or the largest one, the one that almost all the cruise ship has. So this is one of the particularity. And then, of course, we are wider, we are larger than any of the other Princess ships at this stage. So I am actually in command of the biggest ship of Princess Cruises, talking about tonnage.
Unlike most other ports ships of this size typically stop at, Santa Barbara is an anchor port. The ship sits out at sea rather than pulling up alongside a dock.
It's a small marina, so the only thing we have to, because of course being a Sunday as well, there's a lot of sailing boat around and all, we have to be very careful with our tender when we drive in and out of the marina. So of course that makes the process a little bit slower. So if you have a tender, short tender that perhaps is a little bit away from a marina where you have a lot of locals, then it makes perhaps the situation a little bit faster, because of course I have 2,700 people that need to be taken ashore, need to enjoy their time and be back on board by sailing time. So of course the faster is the process, the better it is, the more they can get ashore. But the good part here that we can drop the anchor quite close. So, because in some part of the world, instead, the shallow water doesn't allow you to get this close. So here is very good, because you can come very close, so that the tender run is very short, which is a big advantage.
While cruise ship visits to Santa Barbara are rare, this was actually the 12th visit since 2002, and the city hopes it won't be the last. In fact, Santa Barbara is looking to attract even more ships in the coming years.
Recently, the Chamber of Commerce and the Visitors Bureau, Conference and Visitor Bureau, have expressed an interest in possibly increasing the number of visits that we get from cruise ships, with the thought that it helps our local economy. And I think that's true. I think the visitors here, when they get off the cruise ship, spend a fair amount of time in town or even to Santa Ynez Valley to taste wine. So the value of having more would be that there's not much impact of a cruise ship. They come in early in the morning, usually leave the next late in the day that evening. And so we're looking into the possibility of increasing the numbers.
Big things are on the horizon for Santa Barbara, and the city hopes some of those will be cruise ships.
Be on the lookout this September when the city welcomes the next visiting cruise ship. The month of May was declared Cycle Mania, and the entire city was encouraged to participate in bike-centered events. City TV's Becky Oxborough went along for the ride.
There are many ways to get around Santa Barbara. You could take a drive through the hills of Montecito, or take a stroll down State Street. You could take the 25-cent trolley down to the waterfront, and then utilize the multi-purpose path on Cabrillo, where many enjoy jogging and skating along the beach. You could even take a bus to almost any part of the city. Or you could do it all by bike. Santa Barbara celebrated its love for cycling this year at its first annual Cycle Mania event. The city, along with the Santa Barbara Bicycle Coalition and Traffic Solutions, all teamed up to host a variety of activities and events throughout the month of May, encouraging people to pedal more and pollute less.
Cyclemania is a culmination of bicycling events that are created by the community for the community. So these are events that individuals organized and we supported and marketed. We have many grant money. The Traffic Solutions contributed towards Cyclemania, and anybody who wanted to come up with a cool ride or event would apply for that funding, and then we give them a little seed money, and then it was up to them to create that event, implement it, and then we marketed it as part of Cyclemania.
The idea for Cyclemania was inspired by a single event, Bike to Work Day. In 1999, Bike to Work Day was expanded into Bike Week. And now, Bike Week has been extended into a month-long celebration of bicycling.
Cyclemania started last summer. We started planning for this. At the end of Bike Week last year, we sat down with the Bike Coalition and debriefed on all of the events that we did and decided that we really wanted to make a bigger impact in our community. We felt like that there weren't very many people that attended our events and not very many people knew about it. So we had to come up with a new structure. And last year we heard a lot of feedback from people saying that oh gosh, I wish there was a fashion show or a tweed ride. And there just wasn't enough hands and minds to do it all. So we put it in the hands of the community to come up with the ideas and put on the events.
Planning for Cyclemania was not a simple process. An event this size would not be possible without help from a variety of organizations.
Cyclemania is a partnership between the Santa Barbara Bicycle Coalition and Traffic Solutions. We jointly came up with the events, the graphics, everything that's tied into Cyclemania is a partnership between the two organizations. The thing that's great about the Bike Coalition is they have a huge resource of volunteers that they can draw from. And we have BC Centro here in Santa Barbara. It's a great facility, very active in the community. So by involving the Santa Barbara Bicycle Coalition, we were able to tap into all those volunteers. Traffic Solutions brings marketing and some funding to the table that really enabled us to implement a lot of these events, just having the seed money that's really necessary to get the word out, advertising, radio ads, and that sort of thing.
The main goal of the month-long event was to celebrate bicycling on a larger scale. As part of that, the Bicycle Coalition, Traffic Solutions, and the City of Santa Barbara all wanted to incorporate as many organizations and businesses within the city as possible.
In addition to reaching out to other communities, other groups, the goal really is to get people on bicycles more often having more fun. Because when they have fun, they want to do it again. So we wanted to branch out a little bit more than just the bike to work type events and get into film screenings, art, recreational riding.
One of the many Cyclemania events included Bike from Work Day, where people gathered on State Street not only to enjoy the farmers market, but also visit exhibits and learn more about the benefits of biking. Other events focused on reaching a broader crowd, such as those who may not typically attend bicycle events.
One of the goals of Cyclemania was to reach out to communities that normally aren't involved in bicycle advocacy in the bicycling community. So in the case of the Bicycle Fashion Show, our goal was to reach out to businesses along State Street, some of the Garment District area along State Street, the arts community and the First Thursday community, to draw out people to the event that normally don't really think about bicycling and the importance in our community. So we had the Bicycle Fashion Show and we had a huge turnout. We had about 350 people that watched the fashion show. And the fashion show really highlighted this new urban bicycle chic concept where you can be cool, look nice, and you can ride your bicycle.
Santa Barbara is not the only city to recognize May as Bike Month. In fact, many communities around the country join in on the celebration of cycling.
Cities and counties and states all around the nation are celebrating Bike Month in May, as declared by the League of American Bicyclists. And on the League of American Bicyclists website, which is bikeleague.org, they have a whole list of events going on in May throughout the entire nation, so it's really neat to see what's happening there.
Although this was only a month-long event, the sponsors of Cyclemania hope this will create citywide awareness about cycling, as well as promote cycling as a source of transportation, not just for the month of May, but year-round.
For more information about Cyclemania and a recap of the events, visit cyclemania.org. We'll be right back. 10,000 years ago, early cave dwellers relied on natural fiber shoulder pouches to gather their food. Native Americans used baskets made of rushes or reeds to collect and carry acorns, berries, or fish. In the mid-19th century, gold miners loaded their saddlebags with precious metals and packed it onto their donkeys. Even 1930s American movie icons skipped down the yellow brick road with full baskets for the journey. In the 70s, we were all grooving to the latest funkadelic sounds with our out-of-sight bags. History has shown us that reusable is a better way to go. The decisions we make each day affect the world around us. Where's your bag? No matter where you live, your favorite beach begins right here, on your street. That's because storm drains lead straight to our creeks and ocean. When water washes into storm drains, pollutants like trash and cigarette butts go along for the ride. No filters, no treatment. Help keep our creeks and beaches clean. Dispose of trash and cigarette butts properly. Remember, the ocean begins on your street. Rediscover your sense of Santa Barbara. Stearns Wharf, you're on to something.
Leaving the water running while brushing your teeth wastes 6 gallons of water. Save water now. Visit sbwater.org.
Welcome back. Santa Barbara's aviation history is rich in tradition, innovation, and characters. Author Robert Campbell's interest in 19th century photography led him to one of Santa Barbara's most colorful aviators, Earl Louis Ovington. City TV met the author and found out more about this early aviation trendsetter.
I came across a box of glass plate negatives that was stamped with Earl Ovington's name and MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Campbell discovered that Ovington was an early pioneer in motorcycle racing and aviation, and as well as an entrepreneur, inventor, and amateur photographer. Campbell was already working on a book about early photography when he came across some of Ovington's photographs.
But I realized it had to be a book by itself. As I got more into his life, it was so fascinating that I just couldn't keep it as a chapter in another book. It really deserved more attention. His lifetime really was 3 lifetimes for anyone else. He did so many things, and he seemed to jump in with both feet, whatever he was doing. Very focused.
Even though Ovington's life spanned a short 56 years, he accomplished much while he was alive.
He had so many careers. He was an electrical engineer, he was a consultant, he was head of the Federation of American Motorcyclists in this country. He wrote a lot of the rules for the industry for racing, and then got into aviation and did a number of improvements and designed his own airplane.
Through a friendship with Glenn Curtis, considered the fastest man on wheels at that time, Ovington was introduced to and became enamored of aviation.
And so he convinced 5 of his former friends at MIT that were somewhat wealthy, met him at a hotel, Young's Hotel in Boston, and convinced them to shell up $2,500 each to send him to Europe to get his pilot's license. And he pledged that he would repay them by staking his life on an aviation career by exhibition flying.
In 1910, Ovington sailed to Pau, France to learn aviation at the famous Blériot Flight School.
And at that time there were no or very few aviation schools in the United States, so that's why a lot of the pilots went to Europe and got their licenses there. And so he got his license and came back with a Blériot racing machine. It was a 70 horsepower engined monoplane, and it was the fastest racing machine of the day, and it was the first one brought into the United States.
After school, Ovington entered into the 1911 exhibition flying season and flew his Dragonfly monoplane in numerous competitions, where he earned a name for himself as a world-class aviator. It was at the Long Island meet where Ovington was sworn in as the first U.S. airmail pilot by the Postmaster General of the U.S., Frank Hitchcock.
It was really a dangerous stunt to have this large sack of mail on his lap while he's trying to fly a plane. And he knew that he couldn't land the plane with this bag, so he made arrangements beforehand to let the field in Mineola know that he was going to just throw it overboard. So he flew over the Mineola field and threw the bag overboard and hit the ground, burst open, and all the letters went flying. And all the postal workers and kids and everything were running around picking up the mail. But a lot of them was stamped aerial dispatch from Mineola. It was a very special first-time stamp. So it really was the official first airmail delivery.
At his wife's request, Ovington retired from exhibition flying, and after a stint with the Curtiss Air Company, moved his family to California. In 1920, Ovington chose Santa Barbara as the place to design and build a home, as well as build the area's first airfield. At this short dirt-paved airfield, Ovington built 2 iron hangars that housed his several airplanes and was the base of his flight school.
Well, he purchased 80 acres of land and developed 40 acres with the Casaloma development. And I'm assuming he had in mind making use of the additional 40 acres for himself. And one of the first things he did after he built the subdivision was to clear a airfield space. And I imagine there were probably less restrictions back then. So he cleared a runway and put up a hangar, which is that wrought iron hangar, and flew his planes in and out.
The airfield was very reminiscent of Ovington's exhibition flying days and offered few amenities.
I believe it was a 1,000-foot runway, but it was probably a dirt runway. And from my understanding, there were a number of incidents at the field, whether it was because of the runway conditions or I'm not sure. I don't think it was paved when he initially created it. But it was good enough for him. And I think he always held out that if you were a good pilot and conscious of safety, you could land anywhere. And he certainly proved that. He did train a lot of local pilots in the area. He spent the time mentoring them and got them their licenses through his airport.
As Robert Campbell pieced together Earl Louis Ovington's life, he saw the enormity of heart, a courageous and yet gracious character.
He always seemed to want to do the right thing, and his improvements in the different industries, the aviation and the motorcycle, everyone misunderstood his motivations. They all think he was doing things to make money and profits and everything, which I'm sure he was, but he was really trying to advance the different industries, just trying to raise the standards, get people to see things his way, that look, we can improve this, Forget all the politics and everything, let's just do what advances the industry. And that seems to be what he was about.
Here's an interesting aviation fact for you. The Santa Barbara terminal is named after Ovington, who came up with the word airport in the early 1920s. Well, money may not grow on trees, but you might find it in your yard. City TV's Chris Bell shows you how.
Summer, the time of year when water bills rise with the temperature. But stay cool. There are ways to save green without letting your yard go brown. The City of Santa Barbara offers a number of tools and tips to keep your water use under control.
What we're asking for homeowners to do, especially as they start watering and turning on the sprinkler systems, is to check them while they're on, because a lot of us have sprinkler timers that turn our sprinkler systems on when we're sleeping, and we don't see if there's a leak or if there's something that's spraying, the sidewalk, or things that we could fix.
If you'd like a little help, the city offers free water evaluations to businesses and residences year-round.
What we do is look at the operation of the irrigation system, so we'll turn it on and walk through each section of the irrigation system, and we'll be looking for any leaks, things that need repairing, and also making suggestions for efficiency improvements and upgrades that people can make to make their system more efficient.
Are you Rudy?
As maintenance supervisor of the over 4-acre Pilgrim Terrace housing complex, Rudy Prieto knows a thing or two about landscaping. But even with his years of experience, he saw the advantage of having water conservation experts like Kathy Perret and Rick Welsh evaluate the irrigation system.
Because some areas are needed that are not getting sufficient water, you know, that could be replaced.
The first step of the evaluation is to check the water consumption history of the property.
You can compare. Like last February, it was raining. You used 0 uses of water. It was perfect.
Yeah, we turned off our clock.
Turn it off. But all of a sudden, you've got a real big jump going from March to April.
To see how effectively different areas of the landscape are being watered, evaluators use a simple device called a soil probe.
Santa Barbara clay.
Yep, it's very dry here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you don't even have roots that go down any deeper than 2 inches.
Exactly.
Well, if we pop that out, let's go around a sprinkler head, because you can see it's really green. So some areas are getting a lot of water, and some areas are not getting any. So if you go down in there, oh my God, you just sunk all the way down. Okay, now we have mud.
Yeah.
What, 3 feet away from it?
Yeah, it is.
So some of the key on this is when you look at it, you want to go down and see how deep do the roots go. And it's so muddy that the roots really only go maybe 4 or 5 inches. If you were to water it and let it dry on the surface, the roots would grow into the moisture and you would have a longer root base. You'd have like 6 inches of root base in there to use the water. It's more efficient that way.
If you have an irrigation controller, the evaluator will look at that too. These devices can save you lots of money by watering different plants, different amounts. But they can cost you more if you forget to do one simple thing.
Do you change your battery regularly?
Once a year.
Once a year. This is the best, although this one says 2008. It might be time to change it.
Okay.
See, it's 2010.
Maybe that battery one of those old ones.
Yeah, have you recognized what happens? It goes on to default.
Oh.
And it waters every station for 10 minutes every day, every start time. It will double your water bill. A $3 battery will save you $300. Change it every April. Every time the wind blows and the power goes out, the clock goes on to default if you don't have a fresh battery.
Next, the evaluator will have you use the controller to turn on a zone at a time to see how it is operating.
These emitters don't put out that much water as much as sprinklers, so you probably don't want to cut it down from 15 to 5 minutes. You may even want 20 minutes on your rose bush over here or more.
Exactly, and bringing these down.
Yeah, so the soil probe here that you have will come in handy there. So if you leave these on for 20 minutes and come back and check, that would be a good way to figure it out.
And if you don't have a rain sensor, the city will provide you with one free of charge.
And when the water comes in here, what it does is it interrupts the watering cycle. So the clock will come on, it'll say, it's 1 o'clock, let's water. And if it rained and there's enough liquid in here, about 1/4 of an inch, it won't go to the valves. So the valves won't come on. So you have a chance to come out here and actually turn this clock to rain off. This will only keep it off for about 2 days. So it's a convenience factor, so it doesn't come on at 1 in the morning and you know it's watering and you're at home in your pajamas and you don't want to come out here. So
the evaluator will then look at what plants you have and where, then make suggestions that will save water.
To me, this would be a good candidate to get rid of the grass. I brought this literature on lawn alternatives, and you plant this some of this in clumps, and then it grows out in a couple of years. It'll look like look like lawn. Those grasses would use, they save more than half as much water.
And the city can not only help you plan a water-wiser landscape, it can help you pay for it too.
We have the Smart Landscape Rebate Program. We will pay cash for improvements to the irrigation system. It's a 50% match.
Finally, the city provides simple online tools to make sure you are watering the right amount.
The plant's watering needs are based on some scientific data that we have made really easy to understand on our website and give some simple, easy to use tools where you can really be watering the exact amount of water that your plants need.
To schedule a free evaluation or find out more about the rebate program, visit sbwater.org. With the end of school upon us, kids are anxiously awaiting to start their summer fun. And what better way for them to spend their summer than enjoying the fresh air and making new friends? Up next, Channel 18's Nina Sang explores some of the city's summer camps for youth.
Every summer, the City of Santa Barbara's Parks and Recreation Department offers an abundance of camps and sports clinics that provide a summer of friendship, confidence, and enrichment. The city screens and fingerprints all paid staff members to make sure that your kids are in good hands. These affordable activities keep kids safe, healthy, and smiling throughout the summer.
When children are in school 180 days, they need a break. They need to do something completely different. And a lot of rules apply in camps, a lot of safety things children have to be aware of, but we're different. We feel different. We give hugs. We give lots of laughs. We do goofy, dorky things they can't do in school. We do things that give them long-lasting memories.
Art from the Heart lets kids 2.5 to 10 expand their creativity while learning about sharing. In this program, kids sing, dance, and participate in activities with people of all ages. And while Art from the Heart has kids looking inward, Nature Camp gives kids the chance to discover the great outdoors.
It is a true camp experience. The kids do crafts, hiking, dorky songs, goofy skits. We have a family night and an overnight. It's just sort of a total immersion in the camp experience.
Nature Camp was created 30 years ago after the city inherited Schofield Park. Today, it has grown to be one of the most popular summer programs offered to kids ages 6 to 10. 19-year-old Tyler Parent has been involved with the program for the past 12 years as a participant, junior counselor, and now as staff.
I really like when we go to Carpinteria City Beach and there's the platforms out in the water, and we take a group of kids out to the platforms and we can jump off, and we have this challenge. You can get trivia points if you swim to the bottom and get a handful of sand. Sometimes we find sand dollars, so there's the nature part of it. It's really fun.
Another popular program is Camp Rad. In Camp Rad, kids get to go indoor rock climb, play laser tag, and get an introduction to archery and kiteboarding. Stretching their creativity, they even get to construct and race a cardboard sand toboggan at a local sand dune. And for kids who love sports, the city offers multiple clinics and sport camps to fit every personality.
We're looking for active kids that like to be involved and be running around and having fun and enjoy sports, and they're going to have to love the water because we're going to be boogie boarding and surfing and fishing and swimming every afternoon.
Clinics are designed for kids ages 4 to 18 to learn how to play a specific sport, such as t-ball, soccer, tennis, and volleyball. For kids ages 8 to 14 who like sports and the beach, there's a turf and surf program.
Turf and surf is basically a sports activities in the morning and then beach water activities in the afternoon.
Turf and Surf Camp also takes kids on weekly field trips where they get to engage in different activities, such as ice skating, tennis, and bowling. The city also offers a Doggone Fun Camp that teaches responsible pet ownership and exercise for kids ages 9 to 14. For aspiring artists, summer clay camps teach basic throwing and hand-building skills to kids ages 7 to 15. And it wouldn't be summer without the ever-popular and most important swim lessons.
So we offer swimming lessons for kids as young as 6 months old, all the way through until about 15 years of age. We offer those at 2 locations, and because we live in Santa Barbara and it's a water community, we really encourage kids to get swimming, and then they progress through these other summer aquatic camps.
These swimming lessons are taught by American Red Cross certified instructors. They last for about 30 minutes and are designed to teach kids how to be water safe. And if your kid loves the beach or water-related activities, Aqua Camp is a perfect choice.
It exposes them to water. They do visit various water locations, but they do all of the arts and crafts and songs that most traditional camps will do. Obviously, beach volleyball is a big sport here in Santa Barbara. We've got Olympians here. They play on the same courts our Olympians do. So they get a lot of beginning instruction, and that can take them right through to the advanced level as well.
For camp veterans who want to take their participation to the next level, there is the Junior Counselor Program.
Many children who experience our camps, they come back year after year, and many of them then apply for our Junior Counselor Program. They apply to be our program staff. A lot of them have returned every summer, and they've been directors for multiple years. So we often consider some of our summer camps a great opportunity for families to even just learn about our programs and then possibly seek employment.
Just when I was 7, I looked up to the counselors and the directors and said I would love to be them one day, and now I've done that. I mean, they're just really great role models, and it's basically getting paid to do what I would do for free anyway, which is, I think, the best thing you could ask for in a job, because I'm basically getting paid to play.
For more information about summer camps or to register your child, visit santabarbaraca.gov/summer-fun. Well, that does it for our 150th episode of Inside Santa Barbara. All of us here at City TV would like to thank you for watching. We hope to see you again for episode 151 and beyond. If you have any questions or comments about the show, give us a call at City TV at 564-5311. You can also watch the show online at citytv18.com. I'm your host, Dominique Blocker. Remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.